Alright, we are working on Goldie Hawn again today. If you missed the last video, we're starting the turbo process. We put the custom Texas Speed turbo potato cam in, their dual springs, and I got the engine all back together, aside from like the front accessories and stuff, because I might put the turbo drain in the timing cover. I'm not sure if I want to put it there, or I need to check to see if this crossover under the oil pan can be removed, because if it can, I'll just pull the pan off and put the drain in there. It'll be a lot easier, not have to worry about the hose getting caught on belts or fitment issues or anything like that, which I think, I can't really see down there. I think this one does unbolt, which would be super convenient. Aside from that, got the TBSS intake on, no real issues there. Still need to get some longer bolts for the fuel rails. All we had to do to make them fit was just cut these little tabs off. You can use the stock fuel lines. I'm super excited about that because these ones are vacuum referenced, whereas the ones that were on this, the stock TBSS ones, aren't vacuum referenced, so this will make me feel a little bit more comfortable with that. But it does suck because it means I spent some money on parts I didn't need. Got a stock manifold back there. I'm going to build a crossover to the other side, to this Fowler speed and performance manifold right there. And then I think I've got everything for the intercooler pipes. Just got this elbow in a couple days ago, and that'll go right there. Need to trim off a little bit, and then we'll just have a straight piece connecting it to that blue coupler there. So aside from either tapping the oil pan or timing cover and making the crossover, the only other piece of fabrication is figuring out where to put the wastegate. Now I know a ton of people like to put them on these housings lately. I'm trying to avoid that in case I ever want to use this turbo on something else and it doesn't fit there. I'd have to make some ugly ass block off for the flange there. So I think our plan is to put it right under here, angling kind of back slightly, if we can get away with it, because we can't angle it forward because the intercooler piping is going to be there. And we can't angle it over this way, because what I was originally thinking was having it come off this way, but that's where all of our heater hoses and stuff are going to be. So either we make something stupid that comes up through here to the wastegate, which I don't really like, or we just sacrifice a little bit of flow and angle it that way. I think it'll probably be okay, but we won't really know until we start crossing that bridge, and that'll be one of the more last things we get to, I think. Because we already got that manifold bolted on, we got the other one pretty much bolted on. I just need to tighten those. I'm gonna start on the crossover, get that knocked out, then we'll move on to some of the other stuff. Alright, so we got the truck up in the air. This cross member does unbolt, so that should make it a heck of a lot easier to get this oil pan off. I'll just run the drain up in here somewhere, but for now my main concern is this crossover. You can see the issue that's immediately present is that is angled like right at this corner here, and I need it to come down kind of straight like this. So I might just have to go for it like this, and then just fill a huge gap on the inside there. Luckily it's just MIG welding for the most part, and then basically all I need is just a couple 90s, which I've got two 180s right there. What's up, Pops? So what I'm probably going to do is just pull the V-band flange off and try to kind of tack it in just a ridiculous way, and then I'll get it back in place, see if it fits good. If it does, do a couple more tacks. I want to try and get the whole thing cut and tacked together, and I'm kind of on the fence about using this flex joint or not. Like, I know that it's a whole lot better and it makes it easier to get the crossover in and out, but I've also heard of people blowing these things out. Now the inside of this one is all corrugated. I'm probably going to use it just to be safe, and if it blows out I'll just spend the money on like a nicer one. We'll see. That looks pretty darn good right there. Probably tear the sticker off and do a couple more tacks, and well, you can see that's a pretty big gap there. So I might actually cut a piece of sheet metal out to just help me out with it. was accidentally doing a little bit of work off camera, but I think I've got this crossover kind of figured out. So all I did so far is cut one of these 180s in half, and I've got one coming straight down from the, well, pretty much straight down from the V-band on the Fowler manifold. And then what I was gonna do is just flip this one onto the other side and have it come down and then make a little middle piece. But what's actually looking like it's gonna work even better is if I run this pipe like this. And then it'll mate up to that one really nicely. And I've got the little flex joint right there, and I can pretty much just go straight into it. Once I get this lined up there, I can pretty much just go straight into it, and everything will stay above the oil pan there too. And we've got plenty of room on the torque converter there. So I think that's kind of going to be the ticket. Minimal pipes used, minimal welding. Everything looks like it's going to fit pretty well, aside from just having to fill those gaps on that little turn right there. Alright, we got the crossover all tacked up, hopefully enough to where I can pretty much finish weld all of it and it won't warp too much. If it does warp, hopefully this flex joint kind of fixes that, but I don't know. And then I did leave a little bit of a gap here just so I could get that angle right, because I mean, when you try and slide this in, obviously it wants to go straight out. So there's a little bit of fuckery here, but it'll work. Just have to fill some gaps. So let's pull it off and bench weld it. Alright, crossover is done. There are a lot of ugly welds that I'm not going to get too close to, but it should hold. I blew it out so that if there's any like chunks or anything, most of those aren't in there. When it does come time to fire the truck up, I'm going to take the turbo off. That way anything in there will really get blown out, like any pieces of wire that stuck through or anything like that. Really don't want to blow up the turbo immediately. So going to get the crossover on, make sure it still fits, and then probably start pulling the oil pan off. Alright, test fit, fits perfect. Like I said, I'm going to heat wrap the pipe and I'll do some sort of insulation over the training lines. But yeah, that's going to work perfect, and it's above the frame and oil pan. Alright, got the crossover all done. The wrap's going to hide all the mistakes. We're first going to try putting a drain in the timing cover, see if we can make it fit between the water pump and the belt and the balancer, because it's a lot easier to do that now, and if we screw it up, I've got like two others, whereas to pull the oil pan off, got to do all that other shit that I showed you earlier. Alright, so we just had the water pump on it to kind of test fit things, and you can see a little bit of a witness mark right there if this thing's going to focus. We're going to pull the timing cover off and check to make sure that's not going to be too close to the oil pump. If it looks like it's clearing, we're going to start drilling the fuck out of this thing. PG-13. And while he's doing that, let me show you what we're going to do for the oil feed for the turbo. Dirty Dingo has this kit for I think like 60 bucks, and on the side of the oil pan all you do is take off that little like restrictor plate kind of thing and bolt this in between. It comes with the bolts. I think it's like a 55-inch line or something like that, and the fitting to go into the block, and this should go right to the turbo. And then for mine I needed that little fitting right there that's not going to focus in. think that's where we're gonna call it for today. We got a pretty good amount done. The hot side is, I'm gonna say 99% done. Just have to weld the wastegate flange and get that sorted. So it does unfortunately have to come back apart, which I wish I would have remembered before I tightened the cross member or the crossover completely up. That sucks. But we got the intake sorted, just have to make a bracket for the throttle cables. The oiling is all taken care of. We got a setup that we think is gonna work. I'm gonna take the front cover home and try to weld it up. If that doesn't seem to be going well, I'm just gonna JB weld it. I want something a little bit more secure than just trying to thread it into kind of janky threads. I'm really stoked with how that crossover turned out. I was worried that I was gonna be fiddling with that a whole lot longer, but that seems to be pretty good. Hopefully in the next video, we'll have it, we might be able to fire it up actually, because I'm gonna get the front accessories and everything on there. We'll have pretty much everything back together. The only things I can think of off the top of my head are we gotta get the radiator back in, intercooler pipes, that's gonna take 2 minutes, throttle cable bracket, water pump, and alternator power steering bracket. This thing is real close. Oh, and I have to make the exhaust. So, but that's probably, like I said, might just go right out the fender because fender exits are fucking cool. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. I'll see you next time.